Okay, welcome back to the YouTube channel of Pro Enzo Vids, and tonight is a video I share with everyone about my favourite moments of Daly Cherry-Evans as a Sea Eagle from his 15-year career. Now, heads up, I obviously have not seen every little detail of DCE's career, but, I guess since the age of 5 to 6, that's when I started getting a bit more passionate about NRL. So, obviously, the first maybe 3 years of his career, I wasn't really watching NRL, but from like 2014, I'd say, and onwards, that's when I started watching more about Manly and DCE. Because now I'm 19, and obviously the first time I really knew who DCE was when I was about 5 years old, probably. So I've basically watched DCE as our 7 throughout my whole time watching NRL and Manly. So, it's been quite a roller coaster, to be fair, to be watching the only halfback I've ever really known that well play for Manly growing up. But yeah, it comes as an end of an era type thing on Friday where he does play his final game for the club ever, and it ends against the Warriors at Four Pines Park. So, going to be a very emotional ending, very sad ending. I'm still disappointed with how the whole process of him went about leaving, but I can't change how much, love I have for Cherry-Evans as a player, because in case you guys don't already know, DCE is my favourite player of all time. Since watching Manly, he's been my favourite player. Like, I love all the players pretty much. I respect them all and always will like, any player that plays for Manly. But, obviously DCE stands out to me the most, being our captain for a long time, being the standout name in our roster for the last few years. And I've always grown up watching him play and always knowing what kind of player he was for Manly, and always, have known him from a very early age in my life. So it's kind of why he's my favourite, and kind of why, I don't have any hate towards him leaving Manly. I know some fans do, but not all don't. And a lot of fans will be cheering for him on Friday in his final game for Manly at Brookie. So that's where I think, it's going to be sad, sad, because he's been doing a lot for Manly in his times at the club. He's won a comp, he's won a Clive Churchill in 2013. He's led us to many great goal and point wins. He's been a great directive 7 in many games, and he's put his blood, sweat, and tears into that maroon and white jersey throughout his whole career, in my opinion. So, everyone, here is the 5 best moments of my time watching DCE as a Sea Eagle, and the favourite ones that I remember as well. So, heads up, there's so many, like from 2015 earliest, I can remember so many great memories, but I guess the 5 to make it a bit more shorter and sweeter, these are the memories I really will always appreciate in my time watching DCE as a Sea Eagle. So hope you all enjoy. Here we go, 5 to 1. So starting off in number 5, I have a great goal and point win that I think many fans would remember very well back in 2016. Every goal and point win that has contained a DCE field goal, it's always been a core memory for me. But I guess one of the few that really do stand out to me was the 2016 win in the pouring wet and rain against the Warriors in Perth NIB Stadium. It was called at the time, or NIB Stadium. But yeah, that game was crazy. I think the final score was like 15-14 or something, I'm pretty sure. Back then I was like 10 years old, I think. That's when I started really having more of a passion for Cherry-Evans as a player. And I think from that moment, because back then, I wasn't watching Fox League on the TV or anything. I was watching it back on my iPad when I was younger. And, remember having it set up, I think this was a Saturday night game, I'm pretty sure, but I had the iPad set up watching the game from there. And, back then I was, a typical kid, very energetic, and obviously got quite emotional and cried whenever we lost or won, or, depending on how the game went. But, this was one of the greatest memories that I had, just watching how intense that game was and how close it was. It was such a close game. Like, both these sides were playing in pouring wet conditions. It was an absolute pouring rain in Perth pretty much. And, got to a point where it was going point. I think Manly lost a few games on the trot because that 2016 season was terrible for us. But yeah, I can recall it going to go on point. And, in the final moments of the game, I've gone point. DCE stood up and got the field goal with his left foot, I think. I think it was a left foot field goal. I'm pretty sure, might be wrong, but I'm pretty sure from memory it was kicked with his left foot. And I think from that moment on, that's where I went, DCE is my favourite because, this was a crazy game. I was standing up the whole time, yelling, screaming. I was, just so emotional during that whole game. And I guess seeing him convert a moment like he did in that game, that was just so surreal. The emotions of all the players jumping all over him in the rain, it was just such a favourite memory of mine being a young 10-year-old passionate Manly kid. And it's just a memory that I'm going to remember forever. Honestly, I will, because that moment was special for me. And I wholeheartedly can remember that day so clearly. Like, it was just one of the best days of my life, pretty much. So that 2016 win over the Warriors in Perth, Golden Point, that game will forever be one of my favourite DCE moments right there. So that is in number 5. Number 4, this one's a bit more earlier than 2016, but this was against the Dragons in DCE's 300th game. This one's also going to be a great memory forever because I never went to Wollongong before this game, because I remember 2023, this was the year where I was starting to be a bit more passionate about travelling and watching Manly play, because 2023 was the year I was more flexible with going to games, unlike 2022 where I was still in school and whatever. But, 2023, first year of working, first year of really getting cash, I just thought, I want to make this thing I do for Manly a real passion and a real hobby, watching the boys travel everywhere and watch them play. And I did that. I'd never been to Wollongong before, and that was my first time ever going to the Gong to watch DCE's milestone game, because obviously the Gong from where I am, it's not close at all, it's very far, but I made the effort to go, and I made a poster for DCE as well. It should pop up any second down there, but look, that poster was all for DCE. I just knew during his 300th game there had to be some sort of recognition by myself, as he is my favourite player. So I took the time out of my time and day to prepare this poster for his 300th game, and got very creative. Not the greatest poster, as I never really made one for a player before, but that's the best I could do. But made that for him, and then going to the Gong by myself and getting the win for DCE in his 300th game. It's quite a surreal achievement, because Manly's record in Wollongong was terrible before that win, because I think that win in 2023 was our first win in the Gong since 2004, I think. So it was a long time coming, but the fact it was DCE's milestone game and a huge moment for him, we got the job done for him in a very good game. 24-18 win it was. So it was quite close, but, we did it for him. We did it for Ches. We did it for his proud moment being a 300 game plus Sea Eagle. And I think during that whole week before the game kicked off, there was this, little montage, little video that Manly posted about Cherry-Evans. And got me quite emotional, actually, because I was watching it one day during work, and had my headphones in, listening to it. Kind of had him and his kids all sitting together, watching his best moments so far, and had plenty of great moments from 2011 to now, 2012, 2023. But it just was a great week, recognising such a great player and someone who was always there for Manly in the toughest and darkest times, and to get to 300 games after all the shit and all the bashings he's copped prior to his 300th game, it's quite remarkable. His resilience, stuck strong right throughout the whole time he was playing rugby league, and all the hate he did cop in his time. But you know what? He never got many injuries, never got publicly pressed badly in the media, apart from the backflip in 2015 or whatever. But that's not even like anything bad compared to what some players do, like drugs and all that. So DC's never been that sort of guy. And, you know, his resilience, his character, his personality, it's just shaped him up to be the player he is today. And to play his 300th game like that in the style he did and winning in the Gong, where it's a place we haven't really won. It was quite special. So that memory of being there in person for his milestone game, 300th game, and making that poster for him, that is a very favourite moment of mine. Now, number 3, how can we forget? This was a fantastic moment in a big game and one of Manly's greatest wins, I'd say, in the last 10 years, in my opinion. DCE's famous scrum try against the Bulldogs, Finals Week 1, 2024. Now, being there and witnessing my first ever finals appearance for Manly ever, because I'd never been to a Manly finals game ever before that game last year, and seeing how he won in that game, that was itself a fantastic moment for me and memory forever. But I think DCE's try made it more special. And I guess this moment overall just shows what kind of smarts as a player DCE does have. You know, conducting a try like that, because not many players can score a try like that from the scrum. Obviously, DCE and Brooks organised that play really well. And it's funny, after that Manly win over the Bulldogs, they asked DCE, like, you know, how that try come about so well, I think, after the game by, you know, radio people, whatever, on the ground after the game. And DCE went, well, all week leading up into that game and practicing that movement from the scrum, they failed about 7-8 times, I think. But then on the biggest stage of all, they nailed it so well, Brooks and DCE. And then DCE scoring that try was the start of Manly's comeback win over the Bulldogs in that finals game. So it was so special being there, you know, all the Manly fans in the away bay. I remember it like yesterday. It felt like a grand final pretty much. That full-time siren, you know, I was in tears, obviously. It was just so special. Might sound dramatic, but, you know, especially if that's your first finals game, and especially how hostile that game was, and you win in a very hostile environment, of course emotions will be, you know, pouring out everywhere. It's a huge game, huge moment. You know, you can't like hold that back, because that's massive. But that try overall was special. Like, it was so good. And only DCE could orchestrate a try like that, I think. So it just goes to show how clever he was and how smart he was during that whole process and that try. But yeah, overall that was a great moment. You know, that was a great try. And because yeah, DCE has scored some great tries in the past, but that was one of the best I've ever seen by him, especially how smart he was to conduct a play like that. So yeah, that was one of my favourite ever DCE moments and tries he's ever scored for Manly. Number 2, a bit like 2016, even though I was a bit older this season in 2019. Yeah, this game was huge. Playing Melbourne, who were on like I think 10 or 9 game winning streak, or maybe a bit more, I don't know. But anyway, Storm were on a huge winning streak in 2019. Like, I remember Manly were given no chance to win this game. Absolutely no chance at all, because of Storm's run and the way they were playing that year on a big winning streak. But that game was brutal. It was physical. It was so tough in Melbourne. And yeah, I was at home at the time. I didn't go to this game because I was 13, I think. But I watched it on the TV this time. And yeah, I can remember being so nervous because we were in the fight. Because Melbourne were on, like I said, a 9 or 10 game winning streak at the time. And I was so nervous because, you know, I never really thought Manly would get this close to Melbourne. Like, I tipped us during the week, I think, in 2019, but I didn't think Manly would be in the fight for this long, and we were. I think it was who scored the first try for Manly? It was Joel Thompson or Curtis Sirenan, I think. I think it might have been Joel Thompson, but I can't quite remember. But yeah, Manly were off to a great start. It was like 10-0, I think. Then Melbourne scored after through Will Chambers in the second half or something. And then Storm scored again through Brandon Smith out of dummy half. Then it became 10-all, I think. And And then, yeah, went to Golden Point, went to the second half of Golden Point, about 40, 50 seconds left. Everyone thought this game will be a draw. And then in the dying moments where it's lucky it happened, but I think Justin Olam threw a forward pass to Josh Adokar down the left-hand side of the ground, and then Manly get the ball back in the dying seconds of the game. Then after like 3 tackles or something, Manasi Finu passes it out to Cherry-Evans, and then DCE, it might have been with his left foot too, I think. It might have been with his left foot, but either way, he got the field goal. He got a great win for Manly, one of our best wins in recent times, I'd say, as we went down to Melbourne and caused the ultimate upset down there. But again, being a young kid, early teenager years, I was so pumped and I was so excited because, yeah, we were given no chance to win, to be fair. But yeah, that 2019 season was special, and that DCE field goal in that moment, that was incredible. So I'll forever be grateful for a moment like that, to experience and watch DCE get again, show his brilliance in that sort of moment. So yeah, it was an awesome win and I enjoyed it so much. So that's another great moment for me right there. But for me, number one is my favourite ever DCE moment, and there could be so many others I could put here. Trust me, there's so many great memories, but I think this one personally for me is my favourite of all time. When Manly beat the Warriors in round 5 at Central Coast Stadium in 2021. Now, as we all remember, Manly at the time were on a 4-game losing streak to start the year. We were 0-4. We looked horrible. We looked tired. We looked just shocking all over the ground. We looked very bad in the opening 4 games. No turbo. Our squad was just getting battered and bruised every game, pretty much. And then round 5, again, another game where Manly were given no chance to win after our shit starts to the year. Yeah, it was shit. 0-4 to start the year for the first time in a long time. That was one of our worst starts to a season. But yeah, I was at the game actually, because I think that was my first actual official Manly game I went to all year. Because I think in 2021, I didn't go to any other Manly game that year because of COVID and all that, lockdowns and stuff like that, because I would have went to so many more games that year. But yeah, due to COVID lockdown and all that, I didn't go to any more games other than that one. And Gosford, from where I am right now, it's about an hour and 30 drive, I think, or 2 hours. But, that was my only Manly game I went to all year. And, obviously at the time I was pretty upset with how Manly were going, because our first wooden spoon was a real possibility at the time. But yeah, I was there. It was a great moment. Manly were in the game, and it was a real fight by Manly, because at the time Dylan Walker was playing fullback, and Dylan Walker at fullback, that experiment did not work out greatly at all. But we won the game with him at fullback somehow. Actually, no, he got injured during the game, hamstring injury. So I think Tavita Funa came on at fullback or something, or Ruben Garrick went to fullback and Tavita Funa to the wing or something. Yeah, it was a real interesting shuffle there. But anyway, it wasn't Golden Point, but there was like 5 seconds left until Golden Point, and this was my reaction to DCE's field goal at that stage.
Oh man! Oh! Come on! Here we go, 12 seconds. Cherry-Evans, big one, same situation. You need it to go to DCE. DCE! He's behind! Let's go! 13! Warriors! How about that, mate? How about that? How about that? How about that? Yeah, baby! Yes!
Yeah, so, very excited, young me there. I was so happy the whole night, as that was my first time to watch Manly and Gosford play. And, just after how bad we started that year, and then how great that year actually was after, and that was my only Manly game ever going to that whole season. Like, I feel like I witnessed Manly's revival in that game. I pretty much did. Like, I went to that game and witnessed Manly's revival in that game. So, yeah, it was a great moment. Like, I was there at the start of Manly's turnaround of the season in 2021 after that DCE field goal. But yet again, DCE just been clutch yet again, getting the field goal and securing a great Manly win. Yeah, it just, again, he shows up in those sort of moments. It's a shame this season there has not been many goal-and-point games where DCE has had a chance to kick a field goal, but man, this was my favourite one of all time, I think, because it was so special after the way we started the year, and I was there to witness this moment of Manly's first win for 2021 after 4 straight losses to start the season. So, yeah, I'll never take a moment like that for granted because of how incredible it actually was looking back at it. But yeah, no, it was a great season overall after that game. That was a real turning point win. And yeah, I'm so grateful to have experienced that game live in person. So that's my favorite DCE moment right there, with many others though. But everyone, that's a small insight into my favorite personal moments of DCE being a Seagull in his time here. I hope you all enjoyed. Make sure to like, comment, and subscribe to the channel as always. And I'll see you on Friday if you go into the game for the Manly Warriors game in DCE's farewell game. I have a big poster prepared for DCE, so I'm sure you guys will see it on YouTube or Instagram if you follow me on either. But yeah, man, this is the end of an era pretty much, and yeah, I'll be forever grateful for DCE. I really will. He made my childhood. He was the guy I looked up to growing up. So these are moments that I remember really well, and I'll always remember very well. So, favorite player of all time. Yeah, absolute GOAT. But thank you guys for watching. Have a great night, and hope you all enjoy the video.